Hey guys, Got197 again. This time with a review of the 1/44 scale high-grade Dual Century Zeta Plus A1 test image colors, or as we all like to call it, Amuro colors, from the Gundam Sentinel series, brought to you by Gunpla Builders Benelux and Gunpla Builders Europe. Links in the description down below. So for colors, this is of course a recolor of the original Zeta Plus A1, with the gray now being a much more striking orange on cream color scheme, and it looks absolutely stunning. Really nice color scheme. Not a color scheme we see too often. I mean, the orange on white, the only ones that are really out there are the Power Gym, Curios, and then the Destiny Gundam Heine custom. And the one thing they all have in common is that they all look absolutely badass, just as this guy does as well. So other than the cream and orange color on the bottom of the feet, we have a slightly different cream color, a bit more grayish, but very, very light grayish. And then we of course also have standard gray for the top of the feet right there and all of the joints. Then for stickers, this is where some people might be a bit disappointed because, well, we do get quite a lot of them. And the big difference between the A1 regular version and the A1 Amuro custom is the stickers on the wings. Now I will say that they are understandable because these are very, well, it's a very thin surface. If you look at the Ailstrike Gundam, it's the same thing right there. And even the Master Grade has these as stickers. And here, of course, also stickers because, well, on the A1, they were all just one color. I mean, the A1 regular colors from the Unicorn version, all just one color. So that is what they did with the stickers right here. Most of them are just fine, except for the ones that go on the tip. They aren't quite as good as they're supposed to be. Also, these ones right here, where the wing is jointed, they do have a tendency to rub against the top and kind of rip. So be careful with those stickers. Other than that, we also get these stickers here, which are also a result of remold syndrome, or I guess in this case, recolor syndrome. And they're supposed to go onto the collar, but you know, they don't cover the entire thing. So I decided I'd better leave them off because they'd probably only make the thing look worse. Then other stickers, of course, we get the standard eye stickers. We get the orange ones on the side of the head. We get a very nice blue one right there. We get one more blue one at the back of the head there. And we get some very nice shiny metallic green ones on the sides and also for the scope inside right there. Unfortunately, the blue ones we get on here aren't metallic, but I don't think they're supposed to be metallic because on the Master Grade they aren't metallic either. Would have been cool to have some nice shiny ones like the red one on the regular color A1. Now, having more stickers isn't always necessarily a bad thing, especially not if they're clear marking stickers. The original A1 only came with a handful of them, whereas the Amuro custom comes packing with clear marking stickers. We have a lot of Amuro symbols. One that goes right on there, one that goes on his shield, two more to go onto the wing bind, on his tail fin, Anaheim Electronics, number 18 on the shoulders, Zeta Plus symbols everywhere. Carba Air Force on both legs. I mean, there is so much stuff going on here, and it definitely makes it look more like the Master Grade. And really, I would wish they'd give these kinds of stickers more with non-mass production type models. This is a sheet you would expect from a mass production type model, such as, I don't know, the A1 maybe, but instead we're this time getting it with a more limited model, one that's even for a named character. In high grade, that's not something we get too often, and they should really do that a lot more. Now, there are some stickers left on here, especially like Zeta Plus symbols, but that is because I didn't apply the stickers to the transformation block yet. So overall, the Amuro version, in terms of color, does a pretty damn good job for being a recolor. The only real noticeable thing is that the color right here isn't molded in yellow, and that's pretty much the only thing that's really wrong with it. The other thing is that his beam cannons on his hips could use a bit of color as well. I mean, the orange part of the barrel light here should have been gray. Then we have the beam saber that's stored in there, should have been gray, and then those pipes on top should have been gray as well. these were, of course, a lot less noticeable on the already great A1. On to articulation. The head goes a bit up, bit down, forwards and backwards somewhat, side to side only about that far because of the design of it. So, you know, you have a very high collar, a very long face. That's not going to do any good to the articulation. Arms rotate around, go forwards and backwards on a hinge, up about that far, will rotate around, bend at the elbow at, unfortunately, only one joint for about 90 degrees, a little bit more. Hands are on ball joints, will wiggle around, turn around, and do everything a ball joint does. Then the waist, forwards a bit, backwards a bit, side to side a bit, and you also have some side-to-side wheel going on the waist area. So overall, not too bad right there. Then of course the wing binder will go up, down. The wings themselves will also rotate around on pegs, and the wings will flap in and out. But as I said, the stickers don't really appreciate you doing that, so I'm not going to do it right here. I'll just use the regular A1 as a stun double. So, as I said, the wings go up and down. Oh yeah, on the shoulders, we also have this little piece here that goes up just to give the arms the required outwards movement. Then the legs go really far forwards, really far backwards, and something we don't see too often, a movable back skirt. That's a really awesome touch and really gives it a lot of forwards and backwards mobility. So in that aspect, he's got some really cool articulation. What also helps is that, of course, these beam cannons are molded onto the legs. They go out a bit, and of course also forwards. Not backwards because, well, they also serve as a little bit of armor. And, you know, that goes nicely like that. Out about that far until those beam cannons hit his belly. Then legs bend at 2 joints. We'll also rotate around a bit. And the feet, the flap goes up and down. Forwards, backwards. We have a toe joint. Side to side a bit. And we'll also rotate around a bit. So overall, the Zeta Plus has some nice articulation going on. If only it had a double jointed elbow. But let's forget about that and quickly move on to accessories. Starting off, the shield I've already shown, very nice and bulky, and this is definitely a lot more protective than the shield of the regular Zeta Gundam. Simply pegs onto the arm, can also be mounted on the other one. It does look a bit wide off, but you know, so be it, that's the way it's designed. Then we're also getting 2 beam sabers with 2 beam saber blades. Simply shove it in there. It is a bit of a tight connection. It goes very well into the hands as well, and it's not going to go anywhere. Just the way beam sabers should be. Then we can also remove this and bring in the beam rifle. Now this is the one thing where they could have made a difference, because this is just the regular Unicorn beam rifle. And by that I don't mean the beam rifle of Unicorn, I mean the beam rifle that was standard for the Zeta Pluses during Unicorn Gundam. Because the Amuro version should have come with a slightly different beam rifle, which is much more similar to that of the HGUC, just a bit longer. You know, you can really see the difference in the E-pack right there. Instead, it comes with this beam rifle. So it's a bit unfortunate they didn't go that extra bit in order to give us a new beam rifle, to really give us like a reason to buy, give it an exclusive beam rifle. Instead, we just get the standard issue Unicorn version beam rifle. And all of my annoyances are gone by ripping it apart. In order to transform it, of course. I mean, did I say transform? I mean parts form, because yeah, the transformation block is back. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to parts form once you have it ripped to pieces, which is also fairly easy to do. Then you just start assembling everything as usual. Simply slide everything in there. You know, it would have been really cool to see a Zeta Gundam transform in high grade without the damn thing falling to pieces like, you know, happened with the real grade. And it's still a shame that the old Zeta Plus, the non-high grade, was able to do a complete, well, a fairly complete transformation, and the Zeta Plus here has to resort to parts formation. But so be it, I guess. The one very good thing, the one very positive thing about this is it's a very solid model, both in transform mode and in non-transform mode. Also very easy to do the transformation. Everything just clicks on there very easily, and we're already as good as done. Just put on the wings and then the legs. Simply fold them up like you would the Zeta Gundam. Toes go in, that goes like that, and then this simply slides on there. And here we go. All that's left to do now is give him just a bit more firepower. Plug in those beam cannons there, simply go on top of it. And then we get the beam rifle. Simply transform the beam rifle by folding in the handle and extending this little peg. Now the cool thing about the beam rifle is that it doesn't just lock into place on one part, but you actually have 3 places where you can put these beam rifles. 1 on each of the wings and even on top of his tail fin. Meaning that if you want to give him even more firepower, you can simply buy another Zeta Gundam A1 and hook up 3 beam rifles to this thing. I mean, I'm sure Amuro can handle 3 beam rifles and 2 beam cannons if he can handle the new Gundam with all of its fin funnels. You know, Amuro definitely deserves it. And the result of the parts formation is a very nice streamlined A1. Also, if you have an action base, you can simply ram it up there, or if in mobile suit mode, he also has a hole right there for an action base. As always, the inevitable question is, do you want to buy this? Well, overall, it's a really good looking machine, really striking color scheme. Loving that orange and cream color, really makes it stand out. Combine that with good articulation, nice accessories. Would have been cool if we got that beam rifle it should have come with, but still, accessories in general, pretty damn nice. And perhaps most importantly of all, it doesn't really suffer from remold or recolor syndrome too much. We didn't get any extra parts that were necessary to get it in correct colors, and that bumped up the price. Instead, we only got a handful of stickers, and considering that most of these are also on the master grade, and that, well, especially these orange ones that goes on the wings are completely acceptable, it's overall a very good job they did with this thing. Then after that, the marking stickers, and we're getting a really nice package. Of course, meaning that the one question here is, what price can you get this for? Because it is, after all, an Expo exclusive. Now, I did a check on eBay, and it seems like the lowest price there is $50. That price is kind of, about twice the price of the regular release. Now, on Gunpla Builders, on the other hand, this thing went for 30 euros. And for anyone who isn't aware of exchange rates, that is pretty much the same as $30. And considering that the original one retails for 2,400 yen or $24, that's a pretty damn good deal. That is when we're talking. Even if it's just a recolor, you do get the extra marking stickers. And if you're going to buy them separately, which you could do, you're probably still going to end up with more than $30 worth of stuff. So for that price, it's absolutely worth getting. $30 for this thing, I would say, is a no-brainer. If you're going to go with the eBay route of $50, you might want to consider things a little bit more. You might want to grab up some paint, and you might want to order some custom decals for this thing yourself. But, you know, $24, $30, Expo exclusive, I can totally justify paying a little bit extra to get the Expo exclusive Amuro version. Because, well, it's Amuro, it's cream colored, it looks amazing, and it's definitely worth getting. Now, I can already hear the question being asked. Should I get the master grade or should I get the high grade? And well, the answer isn't a simple either or. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. Namely, the high grade is more sturdy than the older master grade. Because, well, it's not as bad as the 1.0 Zeta Gundam, but it's definitely not as good as the 2.0 Zeta. I guess you could kind of call this the 1.0 Zeta Gundam. I mean, especially in the legs, it's noticeable. I mean, if I just pick this up, you can already see the legs going in, like, they are on the looser side because of the transformation. and like overall it's just a bit more flimsy like the older master grades tend to be. So in that aspect, if you really want a sturdy model kit, this thing is absolutely going to be your pick. Another good thing for the high grade is that, well, the colors feel like they're slightly higher quality. Like especially orange looks a bit cheaper on the master grade. Once again, it's an older master grade. It's kind of to be expected. It's of course nowhere near as bad as the old Wing Gundam Red, which we all hate. But yeah, it does feel slightly cheaper. Also, especially on the bottom of the feet, the difference in color is noticeable. I mean, this thing has these weird black swirls on the feet. If I can zoom in, like, that's just kind of weird. That I still to this day don't get why that happened. But if you can, as you can see, it doesn't have that problem on the new high grade, thankfully. Now, of course, for the strengths of the master grade, just because it's old doesn't mean it's bad. For starters, it does transform instead of the parse forming of the high grade. Another thing that is completely different, the proportions. And this is going to be what you prefer. I mean, the high grade, especially on the top half, has a bit of a leaner feel, whereas the master grade feels more bulky, more wider, maybe gives off a more sturdy feel despite not being that sturdy. And also, the master grade has bigger feet compared to the legs, especially compared to the high grade. I mean, that's definitely something modern high grades seem to have going on. Smaller feet, chunkier legs, and that's just going to be what you prefer. I personally way prefer the legs of the master grade rather than the legs of the high grade, but that's once again going to depend on which one you want. I would say they both have their strengths and weaknesses. I really like the master grade because, well, it does transform and has those leaner legs, but there's definitely also a lot of good things about the high grade. Now for size comparisons, first of all, here is next to the regular A1 once again, and the original Zeta Gundam. Of course, an Amuro machine has to be compared to other Amuro machines, and as you can see, he definitely made quite an upgrade over the years. The RX-78-2, the original one he piloted, and then eventually to the new Gundam. And you can see, Amuro always got bigger, and better as well. Then next to some other orange and white mobile suits, the Power Gym and the Reagan Duel. I was able to find another one with this awesome color scheme. Now we gotta say the darker orange of the Zeta Plus still makes it a very unique color scheme, and there's definitely only one like that. And finally, here is next to the standard size Gym Custom and the always bulky Zaku 3. And that's all for this review, brought to you by Gunpla Builders Benelux and Gunpla Builders Europe. Links in the description down below, and see you guys next time.